I'm in the city, I'm a guitar, so them think I better rules. Me say, who feels it knows? Ooh, Lord, help we sustain. Why? From the minute after you enter this house, let your way to overcome first. Throughout every day, they seem to get worse. Oh my God, cast away this curse. Everybody are trying to make every end each way. Whether them endeavor, that God you see. No matter what the world may say, out that street. All of we survive won't accept defeat. Now I'm free.
Yeah, I'll get it set.
God no time to raise your bed. No time. It's not an easy road. How many cities come and the kids so they think I better road to say. Who feels it knows?
All right.
Lord, help with us these flows. I fly. Not an easy road. How many cities come and the kids so they think I better road to say. Who feels it knows? Lord,
All
help
right.
with us
Yeah,
these
we're getting
flows.
set. We're getting
You
set.
rise to see the sun. Who you over, who you love. Try to do this, but if you works, you are done. Sometimes satisfied with the post of Allah. From the scribes and Pharisees, you got to stay right. Follow the end, dancing on both sides. How we are anticipated, free for your side. Righteousness prevail. It's a by my side. Control from the way. You're living to die.
And for those jumping on
Hold up my head and cry.
these days, you have to do a greeting, right?
It's not an easy road. Oh no, it's not an easy road. I did tell you, it's not an easy road. Oh no, it's not an easy road. Why I've been traveling morning with such a limit. Now it's noon and I got no more. Put down my bird alongside me road. Oh, I've got to hold it. Yeah,
Yeah.
humble myself
For
like
those
a
jumping on, of course, you know, we always want to test out the audio. So I'd agree to in the comments. Do a heart, do a thumbs up, something that shows that you're hearing us clearly. Like I said, if you're jumping on, add a greeting in the comment section. Because these days, with the new Facebook interface, we can't tell who is jumping on, right? So, add a comment. All right. I could pause the budget band and I could get started. Greetings, greetings, greetings. Welcome to Watagwan. My name is Donovan Simon. I'm the president for the Jamaican Canadian Association Alberta, based here in Calgary. And Watagwan is our way of connecting to the community, talking about issues that affect our association, that affect our city, that affect our country, that affect Jamaica, that affect the world. In fact, today is 9/11, September 11, where we remember the horrific events that happened in the United States, quite a while back, almost 20 years ago, right? And, we always try to pause and reflect because there are many people who still suffer from those memories. Today, we're going to be talking about Black businesses and keys to success. We have a great panel that's going to come on and share their experience and expertise in a little bit. But of course, we've got to do some key features or special features of Watagwan. One of them is a patois word or the patois phrase of the day. And, as I was preparing for today's show, I thought I'd do one that I thought was simple. But it's a weird thing about Jamaican patois because we tend to use the same word twice as a word. The word for today or the phrase for today is guani guani. So for the people who understand Jamaican patois, if we were to use it in a sentence, we'd possibly say something like, I can't take that girl there, I can't take that guy there. Ma always a guani guani. For some reason, we use the same word twice and we do it over and over. So the patois phrase of the day is guani guani. And if you understand Jamaican patois, add it in the comment section so that those who don't can benefit from our beautiful language, right? Patois phrase of the day is guani guani. Some people always are guani guani, right? We're going to talk about some events that are coming up. So tomorrow, September 12th, Alberta Culture Days. And the Haiti Alberta Sports and Culture Club is having Alberta Culture Days. They're celebrating it at the Grenada Association, 3208 8th Avenue Northeast. It's going to start at 2 p.m., goes through till 6:30. They have drumming, they have dances, they have guest speakers. Go out and support them. It's at the Grenada Association Hall, which is at 3208 8th Avenue Northeast. There's also a virtual celebration that is going to be done by Wozo Africa Culture Association. They're calling it the Africa Culture Festival. They're going to have 3 episodes. There's going to be one tomorrow, September 12th. There's going to be one on the 19th, and there's one on the 26th. So 3 different dates that you can share in the Wozo Africa Culture Festival. To register and to enjoy that particular festival virtually, you can go to wozoafrica.com. That's WOEZO Africa.com. And you can register there and enjoy the different things that they're going to be doing. On the 18th of September, there's another Getting Your Affairs in Order webinar. It's going to be at 11 a.m. You can jump on Facebook or Instagram, search for Getting Your Affairs in Order, and you can register there. And our association is going to have our general meeting in person on the 26th of September. We haven't had a general meeting since February. And as we have gotten, I don't know if we can say we have gotten used to COVID-19, but I think we're better able now to manage the protocols of meeting in person. So we're going to have our general meeting on the 26th, that's Saturday 1st. We're going to have our annual general meeting. It's going to also be at the Winston Heights Community Center. It's going to start at 7 p.m. We're looking to have many people come and participate. And we're also going to provide a virtual feed of the meeting so that those who are not able to attend can participate in our annual general meeting. So before we get into the discussion about Black businesses, the keys to success, the patois phrase of the day, for those who understand the Jamaican patois, is guani guani. Some people love guani guani. Right. All right, so today we have a great panel put together to discuss Black businesses. These are people who have taken the plunge into being business owners. And that's something that, you know, not many people have the fortitude to take on. So let me bring them on screen and let's start the conversation. I've got Andrea Cox, I've got Iola Jide, I've got Natasha B. Russell. If you guys can unmute, welcome to What a Guan.
Thank you.
Greetings. NBR, Andrea, Ayo. How goes it?
Good.
Somebody have to say something. Eh? All right. So you guys have taken the plunge into being business owners, right? Like I said earlier, not everybody have the fortitude. You know, I was doing some research, and I looked at the Canadian population. About a little under 4% of the Canadian population are Black people, right? The largest city with the largest concentration of Black people, of course, is Toronto, near 37%. But in Alberta, there's about 130,000 Black people here. And I'm sure the percentage of that population that jumps into business is possibly near 1 or 2%, who knows? So maybe let's start off by understanding, and NBR, I'm going to start with you, right? Is that okay?
Sure. Like why I made the plunge?
Yeah, talk to me about the motivation and the plunge to become a business owner.
Yeah, I think I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur from a very young age, but I knew I had to build the skills and the relationships. But when I started working in corporate, and I had been in corporate for over 15 years, doing more like corporate communications, I know I look as old as I am. Thank God for that. But anyway, I knew that the job was great. I was, speaking on behalf of the company to the media. I love communications. I love building relationships, but it wasn't really fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling. And I started to really pay attention to that feeling of having to get up to go to the office every morning. I wasn't really motivated. And so I found what really motivated me, and it was to help other people. You see,
Mhm.
deal things in life. And so I started looking into life coach, did my certification there, motivational speaking. I actually didn't love to speak before, but just being able to speak life and to be able to help people to build their confidence. And so I just started that journey in late 2017, and 2 years, it's been over 2 years now full time. I've been coaching, speaking, and consulting, and I love what I do. I get to really make positive changes in the lives of my clients, and I do believe that those positive changes are going to have a ripple effect in our economy and in I have a little girl. Like, our lives should be healthier, our lives should be better, this world should be better, people who are happier, more content, more fulfilled. I honestly believe, Donovan, this world's going to be a better place as a result of it. So that's why I do what I do today.
That's why you take the plunge. Ayo, talk to us a little bit about your business, because you're in an interesting industry that all of us need. So talk to us about what got you into that business and what's your motivation.
Well, I'm in construction. I build houses, and I do. I also build everything from basements to major rentals and clinics and pharmacies and custom homes. So basically, construction. For me, I really I wanted some flexibility in my life. I really wanted to be able to do, what I want to do on my own time, and I realized the only way that I could really get down that path was to really have something that takes care of, you know, uh, that financial freedom part of everyone's life, right? So for me, I needed to take care of that part in order to be able to kind of do everything else I wanted to. So if you know me very well, I love music, and,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's my passion. That's part of my calling, and so I mean, I figured, if I had to travel the world doing music, and I was stuck in a job, like Natasha just said, 8 to 5, then, and I had to go to that job every day, then I just couldn't really live that life. So I
Yeah.
knew at some point I needed to make that decision. So yeah, I mean, so that was my major motivation. And, it was a tough one for me to do because I had a very decent job. I'd worked for, one of the top 5 multinational, I guess, companies in the world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
pretty solid there and didn't have any reason otherwise to quit, but I prayerfully made the move, and I did that in 2015, and I've never been so fulfilled ever since. I've just been, I'm just living the dream.
Well, all right. Living the dream comes with all kinds of things that happen in dreams, including things that feel like nightmares,
Right,
right?
that's right.
So, Andrea, let's bring you into the conversation. You have taken the plunge. You have done the same thing. What are some of the challenges and maybe some of the nightmares? Because everything is not all peaches and cream, right?
Oh yeah.
So let's talk about the journey and the path to date. Some of the challenges.
Well, for some that don't know what I do, I'm actually a licensed pre-planning consultant. So what I do is different than Natasha, it's different than Io, it's pretty much different than anybody. And so pretty much I work in the funeral industry. So I actually help people prepare for the worst, so, bring peace of mind to families. And what we've done is we've done seminars on educating people on that. So what has been the difficulties? What I do is like taboo. People don't want to talk about it. So it's been a challenge because if people don't want to talk about it, it's hard to talk to them about it, right? So the challenge for me has been more so, oh my goodness, there's been quite a few different challenges. I would say one thing is, because now that we do this, the webinars, but when we were doing seminars, it's pretty much getting in front of groups of people to present the seminars. So the seminars are pretty much having a lawyer talk about the importance of having your will, your enduring power of attorney, personal directive, documents that we all need. and I am more talk about the pre-planning side of it. So I partnered with about 5 different funeral homes between Alberta and BC. And, if people understand the difference of pre-planning, then, it more makes sense. But, what I do is different. And I would say I got pushed. I never thought I would do what I'm doing, to be honest with you. So, as Natasha was saying, she always thought she was a business person. I'm sitting here laughing, I think God just kind of pushed me where I am, because what I do is very different. And, starting from scratch, getting into, marketing, always posting on Facebook, Instagram, that's been a challenge, because that's I've had to start doing that because of what I do. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not really that much of a public person, but now I have to. So it's more, just getting used to doing some stuff that I wish I had training with. So I would say one of the hardest things is just being able to market yourself. I'm a small person, so I don't have marketing dollars, probably like an Io, right, Io? And
what are you talking about?
so
you bring out a good point about marketing, because where I want to go with this discussion is, I think everybody has to build out an equation. And Natasha, I'm going to come to you because you have a book that you just released. So we're going to talk about that in terms of, are enough of the Black businesses building out the success equation that is needed and following it? Natasha, what's your take? Because you have to have a blueprint, true?
You need a strategy, absolutely. And I think sometimes business, depending on what kind of industry you're in, some people start multiple different kinds of businesses. They feel like they don't need a plan. And for me, when I left corporate, I said, I had a very well-paying job. I had no reason to leave. People thought, who took you, Natasha? I was like, no, I'm starting my own business. But it was the market. It was figuring out who your target audience is, because there is a specific target audience depending on what kind of business you're in or industry. And so you got to get super specific. And for me, I wasted thousands of dollars. It's a learning lesson, marketing to everyone. When I knew I was marketing to no one, I knew the rule. I studied communications and PR. Nancy actually taught me marketing. And so I think sometimes business owners, they have the vision of what they want, or sometimes they come just because they want the money and they don't have the plan. But you have to have the vision first. You got to know what that looks like. You got to know who you want to serve, why you want to serve them, what value you bring to the table, why you and not your competitor. And then, yes, like Angie said, you got to put yourself out there. You got to market yourself. You got to build those relationships, and you got to have that solid strategy that's going to set you up for success. And if you don't, a lot of people are doing things just because they're told to do, they want to be in everything, but it's not strategic. And my is be strategic. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. It's going to save you resources.
All right. So you talk about value. You talk about the target audience. You talk about, the right customer. I'm going to swing around to you, because you build houses, and Black people, white people, brown people, green, everybody live in a house, right? but we get into this concept about Black businesses and the community. And the thinking sometimes is that our customers are our community. What's your take on that?
Great question. I just feel like, you can't imagine that everyone walking on the street is the same, and so you need to understand that we're all different. Consumers are different. They have preferences, and that's why we need strategy when we're doing business, because you need to know who you're trying to reach and then know how to reach them. So for me, for example, once we started building new homes, and we got the first opportunity in Chestermere to be a part of a builder group. And, I found myself in the midst of folks who have been building for 35 to 65 years, So I found myself in a community where we had, 4 builders, we're the youngest in there. And the least guy from besides us is 35. And then the other 2 have been building for 65 years, still at home, And so when you go in that kind of situation, you realize you can't compete based on price. You can't compete based on just I want to build a house. You have to have a target market and a strategy to differentiate yourself from these guys and the products that they're offering. So what I did was we went in there and we said, look, I personally have always wanted to build beautiful houses. And you know what I mean? Like our houses back home are not all looking the same, on the street. Everybody expresses themselves, right? And then I remember my dad came out here some years ago and he asked me, he says, does the government build all the houses on the street for you guys? Because it just looks like the only difference in the colors of the sidings on the houses. Everything just looks the same. So I says, no, the government doesn't build all our houses for us. We all have to build. It's like, why does everybody build the same? And that's the same issue I've always had. So once I finally got the opportunity to start building, I said to myself, I'm gonna build something that stands out, something that's unique. Like I'm just gonna be the guy that is gonna distort the market. I'm gonna be the guy that's gonna, like, I can't understand why these builders can't just do something, like design something different. Why does it look like the same guy designs for everybody? So I got in there with that kind of energy, and so we started to really come up with very, very different kinds of designs that were very unlike what people were used to, but that we felt would appeal to people, and we have proven that those do indeed appeal to people. We started building houses, with concrete. So we're the only ones in Alberta right now that are actually building, the entire building envelope.
I mean, concrete residential house?
So yeah, precast concrete. So we don't build with wood on the exterior. Everything is solid concrete, right? So we got in there, and that was our major differentiating factor, right? So I mean, back to your point, it's when you go out there as a business owner, you want to solve a problem, because when you're solving a problem, that's really what business is all about, right? You don't want to just go in business like Natasha said, just for the fun of doing business. No, you really got to ask yourself, what? In fact, business is just solving problems if you ask me to define it. So when there's a problem and you got a solution, you got a business right there, So that's just my little spiel on that.
One of the comments on the feed was that it's difficult to penetrate our community. Andrew, I'm going to come to you because you spend time talking about death, and in our community, granted, it depends, because we talk about death, but not maybe in the way you talk about it. Is it important to penetrate our community with our business offerings? And if the answer is yes, why? And if the answer is no, why not?
Was that for me, sorry?
Yes, that's for you, because you talk about, you have a particular product, right, which is a little taboo in our community. And my question is that a problem that needs to be solved in our community? So your business, does it have to focus on our community?
It doesn't just focus in our community, because in BC, when I'm out there, it's not my community, but because this is where I was born and raised and I see where the problems are, I would say, yes, it does for our community. Because, unfortunately, when it comes to funerals, people are doing GoFundMes, right? Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't just go to the funeral home just because. They go there when they have to. And that's when they realize how much the cost is for these kind of funerals, right? So now they're between a tickle and they're trying to fund the money. They're using credit cards. And it's just to educate the people on the importance of why they need to get their affairs in order and not to leave it on family and your community to take care of. So it's just a huge education piece. So yes, with the business I do, it is to educate my community, because, why would I go, should I continue, with a different community because I know it works better, and just kind of leave my community behind? No, I shouldn't. I should be able to still include them in what I am doing.
But isn't it about making money though and being successful? Because if you're not making money in your community, why stay there? And either you, and I'm going to come back to you as well, Natasha, on that same question. I made a point that it should be fun, but it also should be profitable. If not, it becomes a hobby. So if you're not making money over on this side of the world, isn't there a bigger pond or ocean that we should attract or I'm thinking attack?
Good question for me, because as people know, I feel like I'm like a professional volunteer, right? So I'm born and raised that way. So it's like, trust me, my parents are just like, Andrea, because of course I was corporate for years. I was in HR doing great, and then I end up, what I'm doing, and it's like, oh my goodness, does it take a special person to do what I do? Absolutely. But you know why? Because there's a need and there's a huge education piece. And once we can get the education going, and because what I do is different, like how many people wake up saying that they want to work in the funeral industry? I don't think I know anybody, right? So, and I think that's why I wanted this challenge, because when you think about it, how many people are like me? There's really not many. So it's just for me to try to figure it out. So as I said, once it's figured out, it's gonna work. It's like starting I don't know, a new brand, I guess, and just trying to educate. And then once it gets going, it will get going.
Natasha, what's your take on this whole focus on, if you're not making money over on this side of the pond, don't you move?
Absolutely. When I start, such a great question. If you're making money, business is transactional, then you don't really have a business, right? Well, when I first started my business, like, okay, a big part of what I do is coaching. Like, I help you to create goals and then achieve them. And I do that through a variety of strategies, whether it be, like I said, strategic planning is a key part of that, building your confidence, creating healthy habits, and then hosting the events to empower people to actually take action. Because a lot of people want to do great things, but out of fear or lack of confidence, they don't do it. So when I started out, I really wanted to help my community, but that's not where the help was. That's not where the business was coming from. So I had to look beyond that market. And my client, it's probably about 40% men, 60% women, and I'd say 50-50. Some Black clients, mainly Caucasians, and I don't really differentiate on race, but it's not my community that I'm working with, to be quite honest. So if it was up to my community, and no disrespect to anybody, I wouldn't have a business right now. So one of my mentors said to me, and I loved it, is that never change, like if you have to change the business and the model, does that make sense? But don't stop doing what you're doing when you know you're good at it. Just change your audience. So a lot of barriers I ran into is just based on my background and my experience and the level of investments I've made in myself and my business. My price point's a bit higher than, maybe another coach or, another consultant, but I know my value. So I don't believe in services. And if somebody in, let's say, my community couldn't afford that, I would find them somebody that could. And I think in the beginning, I thought I had to maybe try, because, I'm a giver, oh, I got a discount here and there. I'm like, no, I'll be out of business. So I had to be really strict on, no, this is my value. If you can't afford it, okay, come, there's group coaching or here's events, but targeting the people, like I work with a lot of leaders, CEOs, executives, people that understand the investment of investing in themselves, having a solid. And so you got to go where the money's at. You got to be strategic. And if you need to change your audience, because sometimes I think when you're close to your community, it could be a little personal, especially given my business, like you really, with the coaching end, you got to be open to really see results. From a community perspective, you may not want me knowing what's happening in your business, right? Or so it could be that too. And at the end of the day, I'm just grateful because, like I said, I am fairly young doing what I'm doing, but I'm passionate about when my clients win. I think that's one thing I want to touch on is competition. I think there's such thing as healthy competition and negative competition. Now, my philosophy is when my clients win, I win. When you win, Donovan or Io or Angie did something great, I'm winning too. And I think we need to start celebrating each other's successes more, building each other up more, and being that ambassador for each other's business. And Andrea is amazing at that.
All right. That's the next path I want to go down in terms of, so how do the Black business owners help each other build more economy and build more strength? And remember, I started off by saying, we're less than 5% of the Canadian population. Are we seeing our economic value in the GDP, in the business landscape? And how do we bring it together to help our businesses succeed? Ayo, let's start with you.
Like Natasha just said, I don't think that, starting out a business as a Black person, that you should be looking at your community as your primary source of survival, especially when you're operating in a place like Canada that is so diverse, right? You got people from all over the place. So I always tell people, some of my mentees, that, if you're going to be successful in business, you got to set up your business at a standard that is acceptable to, or that meets Canadian standard, or that just it's not a standard that just supports your community, but a standard that can support the mainstream, right? So you should be able to go, like we went on radio, when we started, we went on mainstream media. you know, and we service people from different communities, different nationals, different, you know, races, right? So we're comfortable doing that. And so basically, I think as far as opening up my community, I think it's more educating my community on the importance of getting into entrepreneurship, because I think that, you know, we're very, very comfortable in jobs, you know. And Black people, that's the thing. That we get all the credentials, we get all the education, and we want to get the best jobs. But you know, the reality is that jobs create. When we go and I think that we go after jobs because we think they create financial security, but the reality is that, you know, even the guy who's looking for financial security is really looking for financial freedom, but you know, they're just more comfortable in the space of financial security, whereas really the real thing is in financial freedom. And if you don't get in the space of entrepreneuring, you really don't get that financial freedom. So it's key. One way that I would always support our community is to educate people and say, look, the system you're in, this community, this Canadian system you're in, is such that rewards entrepreneurs more than employees, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can see how the government is responding to help, you know, the average citizen versus how they're responding to help small businesses. It is because the prosperity of the nation is a function of the prosperity of businesses. And the government knows that. They're smart. So they're pumping the money out there to support the businesses, because if those businesses survive, you know, then the economy will survive and the revenues will come back rolling, you know, in the direction of the government's purse. So very important for us to understand, like, what does a job offer you and what does a business offer you? You know, when you start looking at, you know, a business, you have to understand that you're not just, you know, you're building your wealth faster than you can build in a job, right? You know, we talked about the fact that it gives you flexibility, but you know, just the fact that you can create jobs, you can empower your fellow Black community members, right? In my organization, we have Black people working here. We also have Caucasians working here. We are a very diversified organization, right? But it gives me joy to see that, you know, people come out here every day, and it's just because they're supporting a vision that I put out there, and they're getting paid. They're able to pay their bills from coming to work for me, you know. So it's that kind of education that I think people need to understand. Talking about understanding taxes, understanding the fact that, you know, the way that the guy who has a job, you know, lives his life is that he works, he gets, you know, he gets a paycheck, and the paycheck, you know, already gets a source deduction. You know, government's taking off the taxes. When you go to the businessman, it's a very different. If you go to business space, I beg your pardon, it's a very different flow, because now you work and you expand, right? I mean, you expense, I beg your pardon. You tag on all your expenses, legitimately, you know, pay for your vehicle, legitimately pay for your vacation in some cases, legitimately you can do that. But you tag on all these expenses and then turn around and help the government with taxes, all right? So you can imagine that, you know, the efficiency in running a business is just much more than the efficiency you get in terms of, you know, having a job.
Yeah.
If you've even ever been in a very good job, you'll understand that at some point in the six-figure range, very quickly in the six-figure range, diminishing return sets in.
Well, the government take a whole heap of tax in the six-figure range, right? That is for true. Here's a line I want to go down, because, you know, the clock is ticking. You know, the federal government just announced a $221 million program over time, because it's over a couple of years, to fund Black businesses. And Andrew, I'm going to come to you with this in terms of, are the businesses run by Black people, the small ones, the medium-sized ones, the big ones, structured properly and are considering capitalizing on these funds in order to grow and to do the things that I was talking about? Or are we still stuck in a little window and it's just passion, and we're doing the hamster thing where we spin on the wheel, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really grow, and we don't benefit from some of these programs?
I think we're probably spinning on the wheel. And I think this is just a huge education piece. And I think about when you had Franklin on your show not too long ago, when he was talking about how those in our community wasn't able to take advantage of the government funding with the businesses. So as I said, I think it's an education piece that for those who are in our community, for them to start a business, maybe, I don't know if there's Jamaican Association, you know what I mean? They're there to do recourse to help people. Do you know what I mean? Like something like that, because we are literally just spinning. And the thing about it is that, I ended up joining BNI not too long ago. And I find that now I'm working on my business rather than in my business. And when you start a business, you're so busy going that you don't get a time to step back and realize what you're doing. And that's what we're doing. We are literally running this rat race, going until it's burnout, or until we just end up getting out of business. So I think we are running the rat race, and there's a huge education piece to be had for those in our community who want to start a business.
Yeah, so let's go down to the strategy expert here, because one of the components of this $221 million is mentorship and education programs, right? Which I think is really interesting. And of course, there's financing and funding through the banks, right? So you're going to have to borrow some money. The strategy around mentoring and education and building those foundations, Natasha, do you think our Black business owners understand how critical that is versus just having an idea and passion?
Well, I don't want to judge, but based on my experience,
Judge them, man. No.
I really see a lot of people that look like me, and it's starting to grow. So I honestly think, certain business owners feel like they can just continue at that hamster run and like, oh, I'll try this and I'll try that and I'll try that. They don't even know what they're really doing, but they're just putting it out there. But you do need a strategy. So are people understanding that? They probably get to that point when they're at the end, like nearly, maybe literally near bankruptcy, or like this is not working, or having to go back to their 9 to 5 or whatever. But the first thing when you start a business is you need a business plan. Some business owners don't even do that. But then you actually need a communication and marketing plan to reach that audience. And so I find that that's something I'm big on. Like, you need the strategy, but does everybody understand that, to answer your question, Donovan, or do they do it? I can't speak on behalf of them, but I don't know. But if you want to grow and expand and be able to capitalize, yes, loans are going to come out. Don't get loans just to dig yourself bigger into debt. Take loans to be able to expand business, to have, I personally don't have, the way I set up my business, I don't have employees, I have consultants, and I do have a solid team of 4 that are like on a payroll. But if I didn't have the strategy, Donovan, and know how I was going to market myself and how I was going to run my business wouldn't be, I wouldn't be still doing what I'm doing. So everyone, if you're out there and you're thinking about starting a business, there's a lot of people who want to start a business, but like I was saying, they're in that comfort zone. It's like they're comfy and cozy. They get their, every 2 weeks, they get that salary. That's nice. But they too, a lot of people have lost their jobs, and a lot of people are going to still lose their jobs. We're going into a new era of artificial intelligence where a lot of jobs are going to be replaced. So now is the time for people to think about, what is my gift? What am I good at? And how do I monetize on that? But it has to be good at it, and not because you just want to make money. But yes, you need to make money if you're in business, but because you're good at it. And yes, strategy is key. And that's why a lot of businesses, they fail, because they don't really have that roadmap to success.
All right, I'm going to cycle towards close here, because I have 2 more questions. The value offered in many of these businesses, because I have gone to stores and services provided by Black business owners. I'm going to go back because the experience is not worth my money, right? And is it that too often the concept of value is missed because people think I'm going to support you just because you and I look alike? Let's talk about that. Ayo.
I love this question so much, and I like us to, within our community, to always think about excellence, right? To always forget that, you're trying to cater to somebody that you always, your business is going to grow or it's going to thrive. You always have to think about, what does it look like, when an established Caucasian family trained in setting up this family business, how would they approach it? I'll give you a very practical example. When we were going to Chesterman, we were going in to set up a show home for the first time. But it wasn't, I didn't look at it as common sense. I didn't say to myself, oh, I have good taste. Oh, so therefore we're just gonna set up the thing very nicely. We're gonna decorate things and make it look nice. That wasn't the approach. My thing was we gotta go in here and look like we've been at it forever. Like we know what we're doing. We don't want people to figure it out that we're new, right off the bat. So you go hire consultants like Natasha. You hire consultants. You hire experts. And then because your team is just as good as the weakest link in it. And so when you surround yourself with professionals who are good, so it's a part of the problem with our community is that we don't value skill set of people like Natasha or people like Andrea, because those are not tangible. Like if I go to a store and I buy a car, I feel like I got the keys, I drove something home. But then when I say I need to develop my website and I need a content writer, you need to get a content writer there, because you're not a content writer. You just need to talk to them, they interview you, and they put it together in a way that captures your vision and that attracts your target customer audience. And that's how we got to do things. So
and deliver an experience. And I think that is something that I think sometimes is missed in the process. The experience that people are willing to pay for. I've constantly said, somebody walks out in the morning and buy a $5 cup of coffee while they could have get a $2 cup of coffee. There has to be a reason why they consistently buy the $5 cup of coffee and don't even bat an eyelid, right? Yeah. And people miss that fact in terms of the experience. All right, listen, we have to wrap up the thing. What is next on the agenda for these business owners? Natasha, NBR show, all kinds of things. Talk to us a little bit about some of the things that are coming up and how people can touch base with you.
All right, thank you. And yeah, I just want to say, yes, it's all about the experience, and you got to be professional in business. And sometimes as Black business owners, I think we forget that professionalism is key. But anyway, what do I do, people? So yes, I have the NBR talk show. It happens every Monday at 5:30 p.m. via Instagram Live. I interview entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs, talking about their challenges, their successes. And the goal really is to inspire, motivate, and empower you, aspiring entrepreneurs, and other entrepreneurs out there to really believe in their talents and to take their business to the next level. So tune in on my Instagram, Natasha_B_Russell. I also have the Strategize for Your Success workbook. I'm not at home, I'm actually out of town right now. So that's not my normal setup, but I would have showed you the copy. It's online at my website, natashabrussell.com. $40 for the hard copy, $20 for the e-copy. Very cheap, actually, because I'm giving you all my success secrets in this book. And
for a cup of coffee.
Right? And I mean, and I like nice things. Like, even as you can tell, if you come to my events, they're nice. Like, I don't put on cheap stuff because I like nice things. So I give you what I love, right? But anyway, it tells you how to create the vision, the strategy, execute. Plus, I include my 6 C's to success. I also have a Strategies for Success workshop coming up with Glenn Griffiths. He'll be talking about investments and finance. That's on September 30th. It's free. Might be the last free webinar on September 30th at noon. Take advantage of it. Tickets are on sale at natashabrussell.com. I also am having my Boss Up coaching program for people who want to start their business or who are maybe in their business and their business is not making money and they need some support. It's a 90-minute coaching session with me on the 30th at 6 p.m. And it's on sale right now for $97. It's going to go up to $247 a week before. So get your tickets in advance. What else? That's it for events. If you want to connect with me, I offer a 30-minute free discovery session. And we just talk about where you are and where you want to be. And this is my thing. If I can't help you, I won't take you on as a client because my reputation is everything to me. So connect at natashabrussell.com, book your free chat. And I would love to work with you. At the end of the day, honestly, I'm all about us achieving greater success according to our own standards. And we all got what we got to put our foot out there and actually get to work. So let's get to work.
Everybody can be a boss. Andrea, what's coming up? I know you've got a webinar. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, so we have a webinar on Friday, September the 18th at 11 a.m. Another one on Wednesday, October the 7th at 11 a.m. And the next one in October will be an evening one. So we do 2 seminars a month, one in the morning, one in the in the evening. And yeah, so people can, register for that either through Facebook or Instagram. So Andrea Cox, or go to Getting Your Affairs in Order. And my handle on Instagram is Andrea_9474. Inviting
All right.
everyone there.
If we want to build a house and you get to be the custom builder, how we find you?
Oh, well,
A concrete house.
www.sweetgenerishomes.ca, SUIGENERIS homes.ca. All right, or you find me on Instagram, sweetgeneris_homes. All right, or my personal Instagram, ayo.olajide. That's it.
Awesome.
You know what's interesting is in our next phase in Chestermere, we're going to be giving out. We're doing a promo called, buy a house, drive a Lexus.
Wow.
So yeah, so you buy a house, we pay for the first year of the lease on a Lexus
And a Lexus.
Yeah, so watch all of
All
that.
right. Well, I wasn't thinking about Chester, but maybe I have to think about it now. We can do a BMW instead.
Work on something. That's your preference.
All right. All right. Natasha, Andrea, Ayo, this was awesome. Thank you guys for joining and sharing some perspectives, because I think these, there are lots of people who possibly will listen or watch this video and take a few tidbits from what you all have shared. I think it's awesome. Thanks again. And, walk good, stay safe. COVID is still around, so I'm take it easy, all right?
All right, thanks, Donovan.
Thank you for having us. Bye.
All right.
Donovan.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Take care. And before we wrap up the show, I know this one was a little bit extended, but I think those are important things that we had to share. Next week on Watagwan, September 18th, we're going to be talking about black hair. Should you or should you not? A lot of people gone natural these days. We're going to have Nadine and Tamara on the show talking to us about how to take care of your hair and some of the things that, we have had to adjust as people of color as we deal with our hair, especially our women. On the 25th of September, we're going to be discussing the Jamaican diaspora. How do we contribute to the rock? I have a powerhouse set of guests, Dr. Karen Dunkley, Dr. Hugh Anthony, and Naila Gordon DeCiccio coming on the show to discuss that. Two of those are members of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. And then on the 2nd of October, we are going to be discussing migration. Is it greener on the other side? And we're going to be talking to Carla, we're going to be talking to Mark and Siobhan, people who have migrated to Canada. And they're going to share their perspectives on whether this concept of migration and whether or not it's greener on the other side. That's what's coming up on Watagwan. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing. Help us grow the program. So follow us on Facebook, check out our website. And when the show comes on, join it and watch, start a watch party. We want to get the content out to as many people as possible. Until next week when we do it again, stay safe. COVID is still around. Follow the protocols. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And of course, as always, we have to end with the voice of Buju. Right? So take care of yourself until next week. All right?
I make them corner with a bacon. And that's what I make them take it. So I've been here for sure.